Carolyn Doobie here. What's the play for today? Well, I'm playing around with a stencil, building an art journal page, and even using a touch of washi tape, but it was the oops that made a big difference on this one. Because right out of the gate, an oops happened that completely shifted the direction of where this page was going. I put out the usual rainbow of colors, and as you can see, I thought I'd start with one and picked another. I wanted that super bright, happy orange. And as soon as I started stenciling here, I started to notice the orange isn't quite exactly what I thought it would be. And the reason for that is my stencil is dirty. And some of the color that's on there, who knows what it is, and it is coming off and mixing in with that orange. So I'm getting a much darker or deeper color than what I thought I was going to get. Now, is this the end of the world? Is this horrifying to me? Is this a mistake? Nah, I'm just going to call it an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. I thought I was going to go with this very, very bright, rainbowy kind of direction with this, but after seeing the more muted tones in there, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go that direction. Now, the stencil that I'm using here is called Open Buildings, and it's one I designed for StencilGirl Products. Now, the stencil is 6x6, and it's clearly smaller than the page. Not a problem, I can still fill the entire page with it simply by, well, what you saw, just I'm going to turn it and put it next to it, and then just add more paint. I'm going to keep going with this all the way around until the page is completely full with this more muted orange than my usual orange. And why did I give the stencil that turn before I stenciled it the second time? Well, that's because by doing that, it makes the pattern look a little more organic. If I literally just move the stencil straight down, what that would do is, well, your eye would immediately go, oh, look, she just moved that stencil straight down. But by turning it a little bit, and then when I did this part over here, by not lining up the bottom edges with each other, that's going to break it up too. And so it'll look more like I've got this one big pattern on here as opposed to just taking the same small one and repeating it. And that's how you can get a 6x6 stencil to cover any size that you want to, is you just keep turning it, moving it, and stenciling it right next to itself. Well, all those open areas are calling for some scribble journaling. So I'm going to grab one of the fine liners, and these come as empty tubes, and then you fill them with some kind of runny color. In this case, the very fluid color that I used was high flow paints. And I'm just putting some journaling on there, some thoughts, nothing deep and insightful, just whatever's on my mind. And one of the reasons why I really, really love using the fine liners is because the tips don't clog because of the cap. Well, I had to chuckle when the muse brought the caution washi tape into my attention, and I decided to add it here because there has been no caution used on this page whatsoever. Even from how it first went with the stencil mixing with the unknown color on it, all the way to, you can tell there are parts where the paint ran under the stencil, and that's because I was using a whole lot of paint with it. I was not stenciling carefully at all. So this is kind of like the opposite of caution happening here. But the muse drew that tape into my mind, so I'm going to put the word caution everywhere, even though there was no caution exercised. Well, having that word caution on there got me thinking about some things and throwing caution to the wind and all that kind of stuff, so I wanted to capture those feelings with a little bit of scribble journaling. The pen that I'm using, yeah, it's something from the office shop, nothing fancy whatsoever with it. So if I've got the word caution on there, I had to get the word oops on there somehow. So I've got one of these alphabet roller stamps where you can basically make any word or phrase that you want with it as long as it fits on there. So I made it oops. And magically, oops will fit wonderfully inside some of the squares, the open areas from the stenciling. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to keep stamping it all around the page in any of the open spaces where it will fit. Remember that paint at the beginning of the video that I had out that I didn't use because I thought this was going a very different color direction? Well, that paint started calling to me saying, please use this, just a little bit of a somewhere. So I grabbed a paintbrush and I am just adding little bits of color to different shapes that I've stenciled. Some of them large, some of them small, but just putting little bits of color here and there. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. If you've enjoyed this video, if you found it fun or you've learned something new, give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you would like to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I have a new one out. Now, what if you want some more fun, some more play? Well, that's waiting for you over on the blog at acolorfuljourney.com. I've got things like a free workshop called Permission to Play, as well as my newsletter that goes out each week, and it has downloadable goodies in it in each and every one of them for you. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.